Today I'll be sharing my favorite presets from Nik Software. So hi guys, welcome back to a new Photoshop tutorial. My name is Manny. You can still find me on Twitter at MannyPhoto, and in today's Photoshop tutorial post I'm going to show you guys my favorite presets from Nik Software. Nik Software, an external plugin that you can buy from niksoftware.com, and you can install it into Photoshop, and it's an awesome plugin for loads of color casts and loads of effects. Let's get it go. I want to show you guys my favorite presets. Here we go. So first of all, once you have bought this plugin, you can simply install it, and you can find it here under Filter, Nik Software Color FX Pro 4. Okay, so it has loaded already, and like I said earlier as well, I'm not going to explain this complete plugin to you guys. There are a few tutorials out there that show how to work, and as well from the company directly you'll find a few tutorials how to work with this plugin. First of all, here on the left hand side, a few categories from all the presets. Then at the top again, to readjust your image here if you want to have a comparison view or normal view or two next to each other. Then as well some zoom functions here, and on the right hand side all your adjustments for different presets. Okay, so let's get started right away. First of all, I normally work with a preset called the cross process here. Okay, so select the cross process, and as you guys can see already, we have a new color cast on here, and as well before I started the tutorial I have not readjusted this or added a new color cast. So it's straight out of the camera, and the first color cast is being applied now via Nik Software. Okay, so on the right hand side under method as well, we do have here a few more different color casts and a little bit more refine that preset cross process. So normally I work with sometimes here BO2. It's a little bit of a greener touch as well. I'm more of a favorite here is C04 as well, then L02, L03, and as well if you go down L05, but also with a little bit of a greener tint in here. So it depends on what image I have. This image I thought it will be suitable, or actually this plugin C04 looks a little bit nicer with this touch and that cross process touch. Okay, so I'm going to select that, and first of all here at the top I can readjust my strength. So normally everybody would take down the strength right here now, and then obviously have it as a solid finished layer already. But I tend to normally use it as my strength, say between 40 to 50% here, and then readdress this strength here in my opacity in the layers. That is because it just gives me more control again, and I don't need to go back into the plugin and readdress and refine here the strength once again. So I can literally just do it here with opacity. So rather keep it up a little bit stronger here at the top. Okay, then as well my shadows, normally going to have a look into the shadows. They're getting quite dark now and a bit more saturated, so we can actually take the shadows up a little bit here and brighten them as well. So I mostly work between 5 and 15% over here, and having a look how strong that is. If I want more contrast, I obviously take the shadows down. Less contrast, take the shadows up a little bit again. But I'm pretty happy so far with this. Then as well my highlights, if we can take the highlight slider now all the way to the right, you will see that this just gets a little bit more dull and we're actually losing on our highlights. So I mostly keep my highlights between 0 to 5% depending on how strong the highlights already burn out on my image. So over here they kind of look good. It's getting a bit dodgy down here, so I would take the highlights maybe up just 1 or 2 to maybe 5% here. And then that's pretty fine for me now at the moment. So that's pretty much how I already work just with this normal cross process preset. I literally hit OK. That is being exported for me, and that's really nice with the Nik Software as well. Once you hit export, it creates a complete new layer for you, so you don't need to worry that it's going to be adjusted here on your latest or your last layer. So that's really nice. Now we have a new cross process layer. You can switch that off, and we can see the before and after, and that looks really cool already. But still for me it's a little bit too strong, a little bit of too much magenta in my shadows, and it's a little bit heavy. So like I said earlier, I can now readdress my opacity here and just take the opacity say down to 70%. Have a look again before and after how strong that affects my image. Okay, it's still a bit too strong, then I can still take it down to just 50%. That's a little bit nice. To also try different blending options for different new effects. But so far that's pretty fine for me, and I'm happy with that adjustment. So that's one way how I already work just with the cross process preset. Now I do also want to show you guys another image. Let me just quickly switch here. Okay, so this is another image that I also want to show you guys, a glow or glamour glow preset that I use from the Nik Software. Now I normally use it to get a certain style on my portrait look and to give the ladies a little bit of a glow on the skin. But now I don't want to say that this is a method to do skin retouching, not at all. If you want to do proper skin retouching, do frequency separation or something in that way to retouch the skin properly and get a nice smooth skin. This was just literally to get a certain style on my portrait series. Okay, so let's zoom in a little bit closer and I can show you guys what I did with that preset. I'm going to switch off the layer now that I already created and also just show you guys here the before and after. So basically again, just with healing cloning, retouching the skin simply, taking all out the pimples, making it look a little bit nicer. And now on the skin, wanted to apply a little bit of a glow and a really pumpy, nice skin. So I used the Glamour Glow preset. And as you guys can see, this is now the after. And again, before and after, before and after. Really nice glow just on the skin. So let's quickly also do that. I'm going to delete the Glamour Glow, take my retouch layer here, and bear in mind again, Nik Software is going to give you a complete new layer. So you don't need to worry about creating new layers. Okay, so now we have our preset loaded here that is still from the cross process. So we're going to go a little bit further down, and down here we have Glamour Glow. So that's a really nice preset that I use as well. I'm going to zoom a little bit closer over here, somewhere to 50 or 25%, that's fine. Okay, and on the right hand side, going to readdress my glow slider here. So normally I work with a glow slider between 30 to 50%. Again, like I said earlier, I'm going to take down the opacity, not this glow over here. So normally I keep it at 50%, have already a nice glow here. You can also switch off this little tick here at the top to just see your before and after again. So before and after, before and after, and it already gives me a really nice glow here. Now it depends on your image. I normally then take the saturation down a little bit, so somewhere to 20% or 29%. Let's take that up a little bit. Okay, yeah, it suits a little bit more if we take it even further, so somewhere around 30, and it looks quite warm for me at the moment. So I'm also going to take the glow and warmth here down as well to a little bit of a cooler side. I think that looks a bit better for the skin if it's a little bit cooler. Okay, somewhere around -10 maybe, that's good enough for me. Shadows and highlights, I don't want to play too much with those. Actually trying to keep the shadows maybe down a little bit, just darken those tones as well on the skin here. And highlights, we can give that a nice try here. It'll just brighten the highlights completely, so I'm not really a fan of doing that. Rather keep it somewhere in the center, because we already have enough highlights and they pop already nicely. If it obviously lags on your image, you can try to play a little bit with your highlights and with the shadows here as well. Okay, and that's basically all I'm doing with this preset as well. Then I hit OK. That will be rendered for us back into Photoshop. Okay, let's zoom out a little bit, and as you guys can see already, that has been already applied here onto our complete image. So we don't want to have that, we just literally want it on the skin. So let's quickly have a look before and after, and it softens the skin as well, before and after, before and after. Okay, but now obviously, like I said, I don't want to apply this onto the complete image, so I'm going to create quickly a hidden mask. Simply go to the new mask icon, hold Alt, select a hidden mask. We have a black mask over here now, and now with the brush tool, just B on my keyboard, white foreground color here. I'm going to switch the foreground colors and 100% opacity. I can now just brush back the new skin that we just created, and have a look already. You can directly see that we have this new skin here, and it already softens everything. Okay, we're going to draw it in here, and I don't want to go over the eyes, just literally over the skin, nose, around her glasses, lips. Okay, and like I said earlier as well, this is no technique how to soften skin or how to get really soft and nice skin. You should do it differently. This is just for my portrait series and the way I wanted to do to get this certain look and style onto my portrait series. Okay, I'm going to go a little bit around her eyes as well, here in her glasses. Okay, I'm just doing this roughly as well, obviously. Okay, so going around all this, and now I have already a nice softer glow here just on the skin. We can also zoom out a little bit, as you guys can see again, before and after, but it still looks a little bit strong. So that's what I said earlier. I love to go back to the opacity slider here and take it all the way down to say 70%, or if it's still too strong, maybe just 50%, because I just literally want to have it a little bit on the skin, not too much, just to really give it a nice punchy glow. As you guys can see here again, before and after, before and after, and it looks kind of a little bit smooth as well. Okay, so that's basically the second preset that I use from this Nik Software plugin. Let's also now switch back to our other image. Okay, so I'm back now in my second image here, or my first actually. I'm going to delete the cross process layer again, just delete that, and we're also going to now go back to filter, Nik Software Color FX Pro 4, go back into that plugin. So then normally we also have gradient sliders or gradient filter. I'm going to go back down here, more in the presets, gradient filters. I'm going to select that. So in here, I don't want to talk too much about this, but normally if you have some landscape shots or something where you just want to add a little bit more dimension and more wow to your sky, you can use this filter, the gradient filter here. And on the right hand side, you can readjust that preset as well. So here you have a few more options, from just giving a little bit of a hazy feel, or if you want to have a more darker or bluer sky, you can add this as well. Obviously down here you can change your opacity, you can blend this in a little bit more. We can actually take this up a little bit further. Let's also take something punchier that we can actually see what's happening. So over here, then vertical shift. I'm not going to work too much with that, maybe a little bit. Let's try that. So you can also bleed that a little bit more further into your image. Then again, take down the opacity, how strong you want that to be applied. If you have a sun maybe from the top, or some image that has an orange tint, you can also use this gradient filter technique. Again, it's nice that you can also work in your shadows and highlights. Okay, so that's a plugin that I also use sometimes, but mostly I work with an ink preset. So in here as well, on the right hand side, you've got already a few different color casts here that you can select. I normally work with a 1 or 5, or sometimes, yeah, it's just 5 and literally 1 that I normally work with. So if we're going to select 1 now, as you guys can see, it's overpowering as well. What I normally do is just take the strength all the way down to say somewhere around 5 to 10%. As you guys can see, it's also very contrasty over here. Take your shadows up a little bit again, brighten them as well. So it's literally doing the same as we're doing in the other preset with the cross process as well. Highlights, you can also give that a try. If it's posting, like going more flat, then leave the highlights, taking the highlights back again, just to 5-6%, not more than that. Okay, and the shadows look all good. I'm going to hit OK, and basically just in my opacity palette again, take it down to say 50 or 60%, and then I'm happy with it. That's the only little punch that I do on this image, and I mostly use it to get a little bit of more blues, magentas into my shadows, or to just give my image a little bit of an extra pop as well. Over here as well, if you have some other images with layer or the color cast number 5, I normally keep this up a little bit further. This doesn't suit this image now as good as number 1. So in here I also work with that, gives you more of a bluer greenish touch. Taking the shadows down again, some night shots look really nice with that as well. Okay, so that's a preset as well that I use. And then as well, for some of the guys who love the grungy look, we have tonal contrast in here as well. So I'm going to select the tonal contrast now, and as you guys can see already, it looks very saturated and very grungy. So over here on the right hand side on our adjustments again, first of all we can work with our highlights, just how strong you want that to be on your highlights here. I'm not going to play too much with this now. Then what I normally do is the midtone slider. I work with the midtone slider to get a certain effect here, just as you guys can see now, it's rendering now, to get a certain effect and details here on the door, say stones. Then I would work mainly with the midtone sliders. So if we take that all the way up, say it up to 50% or somewhere in the middle, you can already see we're getting more details. And if we take the midtone slider up even further, have a look at the door here. I normally also use this preset in individual areas. So I would create, say, just a preset now, and I would just concentrate on the wall and on the door, not too much on my personal model here. Then I would readjust everything for the door, hit OK, create a mask, and literally take down the opacity and get just a little bit of details here from the door with that little one preset layer. Okay, as well, let's also talk quickly here about the shadows. Obviously you can then again readdress the shadows a little bit, make them a little bit flatter, give them a little bit more grungy and contrasty look. Take down your saturations, your shadows once again just for the brightness, and your highlights as well. So as you guys can see now, if we take the shadows up, we can brighten those shadows a little bit further, a little bit more. Gives you lots of different tools to work individually on your image, as well taking the saturation down here a little bit, so desaturating our image a little bit, which might suit this a little bit more. Okay, taking the shadows up a little bit, so we're giving it more contrast in the shadows. Our midtones are looking completely now very detailed and a lot of grunge in here. And our highlights, let's push the highlights a little bit, they will dim. So let's go just between back to 5-6%. Okay, and I'm going to hit OK basically now. And we're getting a new layer. And we now have a little bit of a grunge just on our complete image. Okay, so there you guys can see it. Now we have a complete new layer just with a lot of grunge and a lot of detail on the stones. Now one option again is taking down just the opacity here. So you can readjust that whole strength a little bit on your image if you want it a bit stronger or not. So say up to 70%. Happy with that, I can now actually just create a new hidden mask. Hold the Alt button here on the new layer mask icon. We have a black mask now with a white foreground color, and your brush. We can literally now, if you even want to also make your life a little bit easier, Command I, you can invert that layer again. Obviously we just have a normal mask again. Switch your foreground colors. And now we can literally also just paint out our model over here so we don't apply this grungy look too much on our person. Just take him out completely. I'm just doing this as well very rough now. You should spend some more time retouching this slowly. Okay, so literally we just brushed out him and we have just the effects here now, that grunge look on the background, on the wall and on the door here. So if you want to, you can either push this up, keep it nice and strong, or take a little bit down, say to just 10-15%, giving those areas just a bit more detail and grungy look. So that's also another technique how I apply this preset sometimes to my image, but I'm not really that much of a fan anymore from this preset. It's just giving all your images the same kind of look and feel, that same style. Okay, so I do want to show you guys the last vignetting preset that I also use here in the Nik Software plugin. Normally what I do is take my marking tool and just create a round selection here, feather that selection by 2 times 250 pixel, and then as well with levels create my own little light spot and my darken for the outside and create my own little vignetting. But I'm not such a fan of that, more now actually with just creating it with directly through the preset. So I'm going to go back to filter, Nik Software, Color FX Pro 4. And then we're going all the way down here to vignetting, and we have here under tonal contrast we still have vignette. So as you guys can see already, we already have a nice vignette here, but it's just a little bit too strong. So what I'm going to do is go back here to the right hand side. First of all, I can also select my vignetting color. Normally work with black. If you want have something different, you can also choose a nice color here. Then as well under the shape, I normally work with shape 2. Shape 1 is a little bit too round, so shape 2. And as well adapt my edges here. So I can take the adapt edges up a little bit, but I normally work between 5 to 10% here, just having a really soft edge in here. Then as well my transition here, taking that all the way up, so it's really nice and soft and blends really nicely with the rest. We take that all the way to the left, so you just can see the edges are a little bit harder and the transition is not that nice. So all the way up to 100, that gives you a really nice transition. Then as well my size, also readdress my size always, just literally want to have it a little bit in the corners, and my opacity, take that down a little bit. But like I said earlier, I do love to take the opacity down on the layer, so rather going to keep it up a little bit stronger here. Okay, and that's about it. And then I can hit OK again. That will be taken back into Photoshop. And now on my separate layer here, on my new layer, I can then again take down my opacity a little bit and just tweak my vignetting again. So here's again our before and after, before and after. And if I want to now create a new mask, and just also if I want to, let's also quickly do that. The new mask over here with black foreground color, gonna take my brush again, make it a little bit bigger. Also taking down my opacity a little bit now from the brush, say 43%, and I'm just literally going to brush this away. I don't want the vignetting to be too much here on my person. A little bit here from the top as well out. So this is again another method now for me to just refine my vignette a little bit and just readjust this a little bit better onto my image. Sometimes I also do and create a new complete empty layer with 50% gray and take that layer back into the plugin, and then as well create a vignette on that, export that again as a new layer here, and then just work with the same gray color tones on that gray layer. That also helps me to work a little bit easier on creating a different variety of a vignette. Well, yes, so that's it for today's Photoshop tutorial. Please do let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of these presets. What type of presets do you guys prefer and like? Do also hit me up with a like, support me, subscribe, and we'll see you all next week for a new tutorial. Bye bye.